So the Brooklyn Nets look good. They're a team which has completely rebuilt, and honestly, they're one of the best teams in the league by far. And there's a few reasons why. The first thing is that he is one of the best. You know, the Brooklyn Nets got Mikal Bridges, which is one of the best. Mikal Bridges, which is one of the best young players in the league. And he's one of the players who can develop into a superstar overnight. In my opinion, the Brooklyn Nets are smart because they realize the problem and fix it. You know, they got KD and Kyrie and Harden. They got KD and Kyrie in 2019, and in 2020 they got Harden. And as soon as they couldn't win a championship for a few years, they were asking for people to get traded. They couldn't keep a team together. You saw the Brooklyn Nets say, you know what? You guys want to leave our team? Okay, but what we're going to do is trade you and get something back which benefits us. You know? They brought in with those trades a few great players and some really good developmental pieces. With these developmental pieces, we can see Mikael Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and with the pieces which they brought in, we can see Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. And in my opinion, what we could see from this is that they have now a decent lineup, and a lineup which can spend years together because they're not too old to be like going out of the league, but they're also not young enough. Apart from this, they already had a guy like Nick Claxton, which was a player which added a huge part of their game. He's a big man who blocks shots and was second in blocks last year. No, I'm pretty sure he was third. And then he became one of the players where he's become really good through the past season. And in my opinion, this makes them a lot better. The thing is with the Brooklyn Nets is they're a team which knew when to stop. You know, they saw a situation where they were like, okay, we have three superstars, and none of them want to be here. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna trade them away and get enough back to keep being good. You know, so we're not trash every year. They got a few vets. They got a player, Mikal Bridges, who likes being there and likes the position which he's given. And in my opinion, this is one of the best rebuilds, like quick rebuilds that we've ever seen. From one year to the next, they became a suffering franchise who had to, do everything for their superstars and have to care and be in drama all the time. To being a franchise which just completely reformed into a new franchise which is now run by younger players, happier players, and can just be a franchise which has a loyal fan base. This reminds me of when they had D'Angelo Russell and a bunch of vets and they made the playoffs. Because it was a team which it's like you don't expect them to be good, but because of the pieces that they have, you can't be surprised, right? Like D'Lo had a bunch of vets on that team and they had a lot of fun. And now Mikal Bridges has Dorian Finney-Smith. They have Spencer Dinwiddie. They have Nick Claxton. They have a bunch of players. And in my opinion, with them doing these trades and getting all these players, next year they're going to be a team which is going to be good. They have spacing. They have good players. And they have players who which play the game and know how to play the game. Dorian Finney-Smith has been and Spencer Dinwiddie have been in the conference finals. Mikal Bridges has been in the finals, right? And we keep a guy like Cam Thomas who could surprise you at any time. And you see this team and you're like, damn, like for being a team which is not expected to make the playoffs, it's surprising that you guys had that good of a lineup and that solid of a lineup. In my opinion, with the Brooklyn Nets, the biggest question for the Brooklyn Nets is, can they keep this team for a long time? Because honestly, they have a lot of vets and they have one star player. right? They have Nick Claxton, they have Mikal Bridges, but apart from that, they just have a bunch of older players. And can they really keep those players around? Or are they going to have to trade them for younger pieces so that they can grow together? In my opinion, I have no idea what they're going to do, and I think that that's going to be a big question for them. But the Brooklyn Nets have one of the most interesting, exciting lineups in the NBA, and I want to be watching a lot of the games next season because, in my opinion, they're going to be quality games and they're going to be a good team because of how they're built. But one thing with the Nets that I will say is that I'm just confused about what do you want to do for the future? Like, you traded for Mikal Bridges, and it's obvious that you want to make him at least a player which you have around for a few years, right? And with that being said, are you going to try to maximize Mikal Bridges, or are you just going to use Mikal Bridges to win more games? Because Mikal Bridges is a great player, and he's going to keep growing and getting better. But now what we have to see is, are you just going to use him to get enough wins to keep your friends happy? Or are you actually going to use Mikal Bridges in a positive way? Like, are you going to let him be himself, shoot threes, be the superstar, and get him better players? Or are you going to come in here and trade him at his maximum trade value? And I believe that Mikal Bridges has to look out for that because it's like, what does this team want from you? They've traded away a bunch of good pieces like Seth Curry and Joe Harris. And when you see something like that, you say, like, do you really want to keep Mikal Bridges, or are you just keeping him there so his trade value goes up? And that's something that we have to see because Mikal Bridges, the way that he's playing, you could trade him in Milwaukee or in any other franchise, and he would be perfect. Like a guy who can score 27, be good, be positive in the clutch moments, and who is a secondary star at heart. Most franchises are going to want Mikal Bridges. Like, I imagine if Dallas could get him right now, they would probably trade a huge package for him. But, like, are you going to keep him? Or are you just going to trade him next season when he averages 27, 28, 29 a game on good shooting? Because honestly, let's face it, Mikal Bridges is good, but I don't think he's a championship level player. Even though I do think he could be a championship second option, I don't think that he's the number one on the championship team. And that's no slight to him, that's no diss to him. He just doesn't give me those vibes. And in my opinion, that's because of his inability to show up consistently right for his teams. I mean, Mikal Bridges, when he's a third option, like he was in the Suns, he was phenomenal. But now that he has more opportunities, it changes the way that he plays the game. And it changed the way that he looks at the game. Like, if you look at his stats, right, then you look at that when he was in Phoenix, right, he normally averaged 50% from the field through most of his years, right? And you could see that. But then this year, he averaged 47.5% from the field. Of course, his attempts have been going up per year. But also, if you look at Phoenix, he averaged normally around 36% from there. And the Brooklyn Nets, he averages 37%. But it's like, is he really built to be a superstar? I know he jumped up 9 points. He now gets a lot of opportunities. He gets 1.8 turnovers, right? He has 90% from the field, basically. And it's like, is Mikal Bridges really the player who's going to get you in the playoffs and get you contending? If he is, then well, good luck to him. I know he's a defensive player of the year caliber player. But I just would wonder if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, is he really going to be that player for us? Or is he just going to be another guy who we have like we had Richard Jefferson, like we had D'Angelo Russell, right? Like we had all these guys who just were here, but they didn't do anything for us, right? And the Nets know about this stuff. In my opinion, they shouldn't trade him, but they should try to get another star to Brooklyn, or maybe trade him away and rebuild for real. But yeah, that's been the Brooklyn Nets.